If you live in Winnipeg and the check is in the mail, guess what? You will not be getting it today. As of midnight last night, postal workers in this city became the first to begin rotating walkouts. And we've learned that Hamilton, Ontario will be the next city that will be affected, and there will be 48-hour walkouts. Among the postal workers' demands, a 4-year contract with wage increases. Canada Post says the union is, quote, out of touch. Its Director of Communications, John Hamilton, joins me now from Ottawa. So, John, are you out of touch?
No, I think all we're trying to do is get a deal here and make sure everyone's back to work and our customers don't get inconvenienced as they're already being inconvenienced in Winnipeg.
Here's what I'm hoping you'll help me understand. One of the things I heard from Denis Lamelin when he was at that news conference in Ottawa was that there's new technology and that causes some safety concerns. What's the concern? Like, is it computers? What is it?
I listened into the news conference and was a little upset with the way what we're doing was portrayed. Let me just give you some background on that. We are modernizing. A lot of the equipment and our processes haven't changed in 40 years. So the equipment that we're bringing in and have brought in and are using successfully is used safely by postal systems around the world and has been for years. The method of carrying mail in 2 bundles rather than just one is used by 200,000 letter carriers in the U.S. Every single day and done safely. It wouldn't have been continued for 20 years if that wasn't safe.
Oh, I don't know. I could take issue with that. There are lots of things we do for years and years and years that aren't safe.
Well,
right?
But you also look. We've studied it. We've been consulting with the union since 2008. On these new this new equipment and on these new work methods. Spent considerable time on health and safety issues. We've gone down to the U.S. with the union just to watch it in practice. And I think what this really boils down to is it's a big change, but it's a change that's necessary given the challenges that we're facing at Canada Post with a 17% decline in mail volume. So change is difficult, especially when you haven't changed the way you've been doing things for 40 years. But, you know, you look at any piece of equipment that was designed 40 years ago, it certainly wasn't, safety wasn't first and foremost in the design. The way things are designed today are completely different. And we've even built different parts of the process, including the cases, with the input from employees,
okay, but
saying
John,
that a smaller case
I'm still not understanding what the safety issue is. Like, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I just don't get it yet.
Well, it is change, and you know, we're not the one raising that. In fact, that's not part of negotiations at all.
Well, maybe you should tell your Cup W president that, because he said it was.
We have been for quite a while and been meeting almost weekly since 2008 on these changes. So there's those changes, and if we set those aside and say, okay, what are we trying to do for what's best for our employees and for our customers? It's 2 things. It's put together an agreement that makes our employees better off than they are today. You don't have to take my word for it. You can go to our website or infopost.ca. We posted everything there. It means job security is protected, pension, defined benefit pension is protected. There's wage increases and a new sick leave plan, which we've agreed to spend some time consulting on, even to help the union accept that. And that should be the basis upon which we form an agreement, because the last thing we need, given the challenges facing this corporation, is to become a burden on the taxpayers or have to go to our consumers and say, we're going to need you to pony up even more than you do today because we had to take on some big ticket demands. With
a 17% drop, as you mentioned, in volume, does that give you a weaker bargaining position?
No, I think it is just a reality that we both need to face. For the longest time, we've had something called the exclusive privilege when it comes to letter mail. So essentially, there was no competitor. But in the last 5 years, we've seen that people have become a lot more comfortable in using the internet to do a whole lot of different things. That's impacted all kinds of businesses. We're not unique there. But just as other businesses have had to change and adapt, we do too. But our people still have job security. There's still a bright future for Canada Post, and we have another number of online offerings, and there will still be a role for parcels and letters and all those things. But we can't run the way we have for 40 years and say, well, the internet's a passing fad and it'll go away.
Yeah, I thought that in 1970, I think. John, listen, we'll be watching negotiations. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thanks for having me on, Savannah.
All right. That's John Hamilton, the Communications Director for Canada Post, joining me from Ottawa.